Hey guys, what's going on? Okay, quick video today, and this is for everybody that has a slopestyle or dirt jump bike with aluminum frame, tapered head tube, or anything but pretty much an old school BMX style head tube that can use just an off-the-shelf gyro kit and just install it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to show with using the Odyssey G3 Gyro Kit what parts you need to modify and what you have to do to your frame to make it so you can have a gyro. I used a Plus Geo Rotor. I used that one because it had the largest inner diameter, and that was based off a recommendation from someone else on some of the forums. Let's not waste any more time. Let's just get to it. This is the stock lower gyro plate that you'll find in the G3 kit. It's designed to be used with old school BMX frames with a press-in headset. For an aluminum frame DJ and slope bike, we're going to have to run the gyro plate upside down, which makes this lower cup the top cup. As you can see, it's not just a bolt-on part for what we're trying to use. If you try to use this without any major modifications, you'd have to have about 8 inches of steer tube underneath your stem, and that'd just be ridiculous. I need to remove as much material as I can so that way this plate will sit flush underneath the stem while still being strong enough to do its job. After making some markings and spending some time on a table grinder, I was able to cut the lower plate down to what I needed to be to fit around the stem. Once I got it to the point where it would fit around the stem, I was able to go back and do some finer grinding just to try to clean it up and make it look nice and even. Because this plate was designed to be pressed in with a headset, the inner diameter is too large to fit around a steer tube. So to make it work, I'm going to modify an existing headset spacer and epoxy it in to the plate. I ground the edge of the headset spacer at an angle so that way it would be self-centering whenever I placed the gyro plate on top of it. Once the first headset spacer was in place, it was determined that I'm going to need a second spacer on top of the plate just to keep the spacing and the clearance between the stem ideal. Initially, I used a drop of super glue just to keep the spacers and the plate together. Then, I decided to use a two-part epoxy so that way I could smooth in the parts very nicely and to make sure they were structurally strong. If you've never used this method for epoxy before, I suggest you give it a try. It helps keep the mess down quite a bit and makes it much easier to work with. At this point, I go ahead and cut a small hole in the bag and use it as kind of a makeshift caulking gun. Just that way I can control the epoxy and put it right where I need it to be. Once I get the groove filled in, I can go ahead and use the contour of my finger to smooth the epoxy around and make it look pretty nice. Once the epoxy cured and a quick couple shots of paint, you can see the final product. From a distance it looks pretty good. Up close you can see the imperfections, but I'm really here for more for function over form. And here we have it installed on the bike. Everything looks like it fits nicely. I have spacing, everything's tight, and doesn't look too bad if you ask me. Now, I took everything back apart and put the rotor on, hooked the cables up just so I could see exactly where my spacing's at, if I had enough cable movement, and how I'm going to make the bottom tabs. Okay, the top plate has been modified and installed and test fit, and looks like it's going to work pretty well. That part took a little time, but it wasn't nerve-wracking because I was just modifying a $4 part. The next part, I need to be able to attach the lower cables. And to do that, I was going to use removable gyro tabs. And you can see this frame isn't designed for it. This is where it gets a little nerve-wracking for me. I think I'm going to go old school, and I'm going to drill and tap this frame for removable tabs so I can hook up my cables. Let's see how this goes. Before I started putting holes in my frame, I did a couple test fits on some electrical conduit fittings at work just to see if I could get it in one try. Looks good to me. Next step, strip the frame down. This frame uses a zero stack top head cup, so I need to remove it and make a marking to see how far down into the frame the headset cup presses in. Once I have the depth of the headset cup marked, now I need to mark 180 degrees on either side for where the tabs are going to be. Using a brand new drill bit and a center punch, I slowly drilled the holes and then took my time to tap the lower one. If drilling a hole in your frame scares the shit out of you, don't do it. Ask one of your friends. Somebody might be pretty good with a drill and a tap and have the confidence to do this. If you do this wrong, you can mess up your frame pretty good. I will spare you the reassembly video, but here's the final product. Everything lines up, the cables are moving nice and free, there's enough cable movement, which is very important, and we have full function. I have the rear brake cable running down to a Tektro HYRD caliper. It is a cable operated hydraulic caliper. I'll post the link for the video just above, and you can take a look at that video and see what you think about that. So there you have it, a gyro install on a slopestyle or a DJ bike. If you have more time than money, like me, this might be the way for you to do it. If you've got the deep pockets, go ahead and buy some of the aftermarket kits. Some of them are costing in excess of $100. Well, I hope you liked what you saw today. Tune in for more. We'll see what happens next. Be sure to subscribe.